You know, it's funny how something so small, like a handful of nuts, can feel like a big win. At least I'm eating something healthy, we say, as we reach for the almonds, the peanuts, or maybe those creamy cashews in the pantry. It's a habit we're proud of. A swap for chips, a better snack than cookies. And for good reason. Nuts are full of nutrients, healthy fats, and have been praised for heart and brain health. But if you're over 60, and especially if you're eating certain nuts every day, it might be time to take a closer look. This isn't a scare tactic. You don't need to throw out every jar of almonds or swear off trail mix forever. But just like medication, the foods we eat can affect our bodies differently as we age. What helped us at 40 might not be the best choice at 70. And today, we're going to talk about 4 types of nuts that, even though they're often labeled healthy, may need to be enjoyed a bit more carefully by older adults. Not because they're bad, but because your body changes, and some nuts can quietly add pressure to systems that already work a little harder with age, like your liver, your kidneys, or even your memory. We're not going to demonize food here. That's not what responsible health advice should do. Instead, we're going to have a real, honest conversation about how these nuts affect you, the good, the bad, and the maybe too much. That way, you can keep making smart choices without fear or confusion. So why are we talking about this? Because more and more older adults are trying to eat healthy, which is fantastic. But many are unknowingly snacking on foods that could be increasing inflammation, disrupting blood sugar, or overloading the body's filters. And over time, that can lead to subtle things. A bit more brain fog, more fatigue in the afternoon, or that sense that your memory just isn't what it used to be. Sometimes it's not a big event that signals a problem. It's those small daily choices that build up. And when we gently adjust those habits, the results can surprise you. Clearer thinking, steadier energy, fewer digestive issues, and even better sleep. In this video, we'll walk through 4 common nuts, ones you'll find in nearly every kitchen or snack aisle, and talk about when they're helpful, when they might be too much, and what signs your body might be giving you. Because staying sharp, strong, and independent isn't about big changes. It's about knowing your body and listening to what it needs at this stage of life. Let's start with the most popular one of all, the one you probably grew up eating in sandwiches or grabbing by the handful at parties. It's affordable, familiar, and loved by millions. Peanuts. But are they still the right fit for your body after 60? Let's find out. Peanuts are one of the most beloved snacks in the world. Creamy peanut butter on toast. Salted peanuts at baseball games. Peanut brittle during the holidays. For many of us, it's a food full of comfort and nostalgia. And here's the truth. Peanuts do have some impressive benefits. They're a rich source of plant-based protein, which helps maintain muscle mass as we age. They contain niacin and vitamin E, both known to support brain health. And they're full of resveratrol, a plant compound also found in red wine, which may help reduce inflammation and support heart health. Plus, they're affordable and accessible, which matters a lot, especially for older adults on a budget. So yes, peanuts can be part of a healthy lifestyle. And this is a gentle but, they're not perfect. And some seniors may want to keep an eye on how often they're eating them, and in what form. Let's start with a little-known fact. Peanuts are not technically nuts. They're legumes, like beans and lentils. And because they grow underground, they're more prone to mold contamination, especially in warm, humid environments. In some regions, this mold can produce something called aflatoxin, a toxin that in high doses may affect liver function. Now here's the key. In countries like the US, Canada, and Europe, food safety regulations are strict. Aflatoxin levels are monitored and kept well below harmful thresholds. So the average person eating moderate amounts of commercially packaged peanuts isn't likely to be in danger. But if you have a history of liver disease, fatty liver, or are taking multiple medications that are processed through the liver, it's worth being a little more selective. Choosing reputable brands, storing peanuts properly, and not eating large quantities daily can make a big difference. The next point, sodium and processing. Many of the peanuts sold in stores are salted, sometimes heavily, and that salt adds up. Just a small handful of salted peanuts can contain over 200 milligrams of sodium. For people with high blood pressure or kidney concerns, That's not insignificant. Over time, too much sodium can stiffen blood vessels and reduce blood flow to the brain. Then there's the oil they're roasted in. Some peanuts are cooked in hydrogenated or refined vegetable oils, which can promote inflammation if eaten in large amounts over time. Lastly, there's the issue of portion size. Peanuts are delicious, and it's easy to eat more than we need. But they're calorie-dense, and too much, especially in the evening, can interfere with digestion and sleep. So what should you do? You don't have to give up peanuts entirely, but aim for moderation. Look for dry roasted, unsalted peanuts without added oils. Keep portions to a small handful, and if you're using peanut butter, choose the natural kind without added sugar or hydrogenated fats. And if you ever feel sluggish or foggy after eating them, try skipping them for a week. See how your body feels. Sometimes, our bodies are better at giving feedback than we realize. Up next, a nut that tastes creamy, feels luxurious, but may be trickier for blood sugar and kidney health than most people think. Let's talk about cashews. Cashews have a way of making people smile. They're soft, buttery, and just a little bit sweet. Unlike some crunchier nuts, they're easy on the teeth and feel almost like a treat. You'll find them in trail mixes, plant-based milk, dairy-free cheese alternatives, even fancy gift boxes. For many seniors, cashews feel like the gentle nut. And in some ways, they are. Cashews contain important nutrients like magnesium, copper, and healthy monounsaturated fats. These nutrients can support bone health, blood pressure, and immune function. They even have antioxidants that help protect cells from aging. So, cashews absolutely have a place in a smart, balanced diet. But, just like peanuts, there are a few things to be aware of, especially if you're dealing with blood sugar concerns, kidney issues, or simply trying to avoid that mid-afternoon energy crash. Let's start with blood sugar. Cashews are higher in carbohydrates than most other nuts. While almonds, walnuts, and macadamias have very low carb content, cashews sit closer to the middle ground. That means if you snack on them alone, without protein, fiber, or fat from other sources, they can raise blood sugar more than you might expect. For people with type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, or even just mild insulin resistance, this matters. Repeated blood sugar spikes followed by crashes can lead to mental fog, low energy, irritability, and over time, damage to tiny blood vessels in the brain. It's not that cashews are bad, but like with any food that impacts blood sugar, context and timing matter. Eating cashews alongside other foods, like a boiled egg or a few veggies, can blunt that spike. Next up, oxalates. Cashews contain compounds called oxalates. For most people, oxalates are not a big deal. But for some, especially those with a history of kidney stones, they can cause problems. Oxalates can bind to calcium in the kidneys and form crystals, and that's not something any of us want. Even without stones, high oxalate intake may place extra burden on kidneys, especially in people with reduced kidney function. If you're someone who drinks less water, takes medications that affect kidney filtering, or already has kidney concerns, it's worth limiting foods with high oxalate content, including cashews. Then there's the way most cashews are sold: roasted, salted, and often roasted in oils that don't help inflammation. Just like with peanuts, many store-bought cashews are cooked in refined vegetable oils and coated with salt, adding even more pressure to blood vessels and circulation. So what's the takeaway? Cashews can be enjoyed, in moderation and in the right form. Look for raw or dry-roasted unsalted cashews. Pair them with protein or fiber. Drink plenty of water. And if you've had kidney issues or trouble balancing your blood sugar, consider enjoying them just once or twice a week rather than daily. Think of them like a fancy dessert, something to savor, not something to rely on. Next, we'll look at a nut that most people think of as a superfood. It's in nearly every healthy eating guide. But for older adults, it has one sneaky downside. It blocks the very minerals your brain and bones rely on. Let's talk about almonds. Almonds have become the poster child for healthy snacking. You see them in nearly every clean-eating article, in smoothies, cereal bars, even in almond milk. And for good reason. Almonds are packed with fiber, vitamin E, magnesium, and healthy fats. They support heart health, help regulate blood sugar, and can even promote satiety, which which means you're less likely to overeat later. For many people, swapping chips for almonds feels like a smart move, and often it is. But as we age, even superfoods like almonds need a second look. One reason? Something called phytic acid. Phytic acid is a natural compound found in many nuts, seeds, and grains. It's sometimes referred to as an anti-nutrient because it binds to minerals in the digestive tract, especially magnesium, zinc, calcium, and iron, and makes them harder for your body to absorb. Now, if you have a varied diet and eat plenty of fruits, vegetables, and protein, a little phytic acid isn't likely to cause a problem. But for older adults who already face challenges with nutrient absorption and may eat smaller meals, it can start to matter more. Let's say you're trying to support your brain and bone health. You're doing all the right things, eating leafy greens, getting some dairy, taking a supplement, but then you snack on 2 or 3 handfuls of almonds every day. Over time, that phytic acid could quietly reduce how much calcium, magnesium, or iron your body is actually absorbing. And without those minerals, your memory, energy, and bone strength may suffer. Not because you aren't eating well, but because your body can't use what it's getting. That's not all. Almonds, like cashews, are high in oxalates. Again, a concern mostly for people with a history of kidney stones or reduced kidney function. And many almonds on the market are roasted in oil, salted, or even sugar-coated. If your healthy snack is honey-roasted almonds, you might be getting more added sugar and sodium than you realize. Even plain roasted almonds can be calorie-dense and easy to overeat. A small handful is about 160 calories, but most of us don't count. We just eat until the bowl is empty. And that can add up. So what's the best way to enjoy almonds? Stick to raw, unsalted varieties when possible. Soaking almonds in water overnight can help reduce phytic acid and make them easier to digest. And keep your portion reasonable, maybe 10 to 12 almonds at a time. Also, try rotating with other brain-friendly seeds and nuts, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, or a few walnuts. That way, you're not putting all your nutrient eggs in one basket. Remember, almonds are not the enemy. But when we eat them every day in large amounts without variety, they may start to interfere with the very benefits we're hoping for. And now, let's move on to one last nut. It's buttery, it's fancy, and it often shows up in gourmet snack mixes. But for older adults, especially those with slower livers or metabolism, it can quietly tax the system more than you'd think. Let's talk about macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts feel like the royalty of the nut world. They're creamy, rich, and often come in sleek tins or expensive gift boxes. Just the name sounds luxurious. And because they're touted as heart-healthy and full of good fats, many seniors assume they're the perfect guilt-free indulgence. And to be fair, they do have benefits. Macadamias are rich in monounsaturated fats, the same type found in olive oil. These fats can help support healthy cholesterol levels, reduce inflammation, and support heart health. They also contain antioxidants, manganese, and fiber. But here's the important part. Even good fats can become too much, especially for older adults whose metabolism and liver function aren't as fast as they once were. Let's talk about fat and the liver. Your liver plays a major role in breaking down fat and filtering out byproducts. As we age, the liver may work a little slower, especially in people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is surprisingly common, or those taking multiple medications. Macadamia nuts are among the highest fat nuts out there. Just a small handful, maybe 10 to 12 nuts, can contain over 200 calories and 21 grams of fat. That's a heavy load for a single snack. If your liver is already under strain, eating large amounts of these rich nuts regularly may contribute to sluggish digestion, fatigue, and even that foggy-headed feeling some people get after eating. Another concern? Portion control. Macadamias are soft, almost melt in your mouth. That makes it easy to eat a lot without realizing it. Unlike pistachios, where you have to shell each one, or walnuts that slow you down with texture, macadamias go down fast, and they're calorie-dense. They're also often roasted and salted, adding sodium and sometimes inflammatory oils into the mix. Salt, as we know, can raise blood pressure and reduce blood flow to the brain. And while the fats in macadamias are mostly healthy, when combined with sodium and overconsumption, they can still put pressure on your circulatory system. So how should older adults enjoy macadamias? First, treat them like a treat, not a daily staple. Choose raw or dry roasted, unsalted versions when you can. Stick to a small portion, maybe 5 or 6 nuts, paired with something else that balances the richness, like sliced apples or raw veggies. And if you've been feeling off after snacking on them, try a short break. Sometimes our bodies send us signals, but we've learned to tune them out. Now that we've walked through these 4 nuts, peanuts, cashews, almonds, and macadamias, what's the big picture? The truth is, none of these are bad. But like many things in nutrition, context, quantity, and your personal health profile matter more than labels. So if you're over 60 and want to stay sharp, energized, and steady, consider rotating your nuts, watching portions, and choosing ones that support your unique needs. Need safer, senior-friendly options? Try walnuts rich in omega-3s for brain support. Pumpkin seeds packed with magnesium and zinc. Pistachios, great for blood sugar balance. Or even Brazil nuts. Just 1 per day gives you all the selenium your thyroid needs. Healthy aging isn't about cutting everything out. It's about getting smarter, gentler, and more in tune with your body. Because the best health advice? It's the kind that helps you feel good, not scared.